Hello everyone. Okay, so today I just wanted to talk a little bit about horse conformation. I am in a horse judging team, so I've been doing it for 3 years now, so I know quite a bit about horse conformation, so I decided to go over the basics. Maybe this will help out all of you breyer lovers who want to show horses, or want to learn how to do horse conformation, or even do a breyer show, so you know what your horse lacks and what is a good ideal model of the breed. So I was looking for an Arabian picture because Arabians are my passion, and I was going to do an Arabian tutorial, but all I could find was Morgans, which are pretty close, but they're just a little bit stockier. So there are two styles of Morgans, one that looks like this, which is like the Justin Morgan. They're a little beefy, a little bulky. They still got elegance, and they're gorgeous, and they're smooth. And then there are, by the way, that's the Morgan stallion. This is the Morgan mare. This is what a Morgan mare is supposed to look like. That's the idealistic. But I found that the newer Morgans look a little bit more like saddlebreds, and some tend to go more towards that direction where they're a little bit thinner and sleek, and they're not as bulky. So basically, Arabian or all horse conformation is based off of balance. Now, as I was told, balance is like putting a horse into 3 different sections. So I have a model with me today, and this is Counter Blessings, and I believe he is a lot like the most idealistic Arabian that I could find in my breyer collection, besides the Desperado, but he's in the box, so I figured, you know, he's pretty good. So, when I'm talking about 3 different sections is I'm not talking about like the neck or something. 3 different sections are, the first section is right here. It's the chest, and it includes the shoulder. The next section is the stomach, and this area includes the flank and a little bit of the croup. Okay, and then the last section is their butt. So as I was told, these are like 3 different circles, and you want all 3 of the circles to be even. Even in length, even in depth, you want everything to be even. And when everything is even, just like my model here is standing a little upright or off. See how every circle is even? This means that this horse is very, very well balanced. The only thing that I can find wrong with this horse is that I think his back is just a little bit long, but that's it. Now, we'll start up here at the head. Arabians want lots of type. When I mean type, I mean this gorgeous little dish that he has in his face here. This little dish right here, which starts at the forehead and ends at the muzzle, is type. But type also refers to the characteristics on the face. See how he's muscling and he's got more of a chiseled appearance about his face? This is very, very good, and it demonstrates Arabian type. Another thing that you want in Arabians, and also Morgans, is a long, somewhat thick, somewhat thin. You don't want it to be pencil thin, but you don't want it to be ginormous and thick, kind of like this picture is. Morgan Stallion has a little bit of a thick neck. You want it to be kind of lean, and you want it to be long, and you want it to have this gorgeous arch to it. Now, some Arabians that I've seen have beautiful, long, lovely necks, but they always seem to fail right here at the throat latch, which is right here between the jaw and the neck. It's where they connect. Now, what I mean by this is that if you look at an Arabian, most of the time, their connection between here is very, very straight, so it appears as if their neck is going straight out instead of having this gorgeous little arch. That is a fault. You do not want that in Arabians. Next, moving on to the shoulder. Now, there's 2 different types of shoulders. There's laid, and then there's straight. Straight is very bad. This is a good example of a laid shoulder. As you can see from the painting here, the shoulder starts at the tip of the chest, and then it ends at the top of the withers. When you put this together, it's at a line. Now, when it's at a sloped line, that's a very good thing, and that means that the shoulder is laid. A bad shoulder would be if the shoulder was straight. or straight-ish, either way. By having a straight shoulder, it does not allow the horse's front legs to go into a full motion and tends to give it a choppy stride. Now moving to the middle section, most horses tend to fall on their backs. They tend to have longer backs, which in long term can cause many different problems, such as sway back. It also causes them to have choppy movement in the rear, but that's just one of the causes of choppy movement in the rear. Horses can have a Arabian horses are meant to have an even level top line, which is where when I stand him up, this is where the back all the way to the butt is like a flat line. It's supposed to be tabletop flat. This is a very good thing for Arabians and it's wanted. No matter what, in every breed of horse you always want a long neck and a short, strong back. These are the two main keys of perfect balance. Moving on to my favorite part of the horse is the hip. Now this horse has a giant hip, which is a very, very good thing. Large hips allow the horse to come with its back legs and reach all the way up to the front, allowing for it to have a long stride. The definition, or my definition, of a long-strided horse is that when their front hoof is moved up off of the ground in a movement, and if it were to end here, for example, you would want the back hoof to go in directly into the little divot that the front hoof had made. By doing that, that means the horse has extended his back leg fully forward and has managed to cause enough of a stride to be able to carry his movement forward and not have a choppy stride. Now, the way that I define a hip's length is by looking at the top of the hip from right at the point of the end, or right at the top of the flank, right here, to the very end. So it's another line just like the shoulder. For this horse, it's a very long and strong hip, and it's also tabletop flat as it should be. Now in Arabians you want a higher tail set, so where the tail is perfectly fine. I prefer round butts. That's just my preference. And for an Arabian, it would have to have a round butt if it was tabletop flat. Now, this pretty much concludes my tutorial on balance for the horse, but the last thing that I want to mention is top to bottom balance. And what I mean by this is some horses you'll see will be perfectly even and level and balanced for their body, but when you move to their legs might be really, really short. This is not a balanced horse, because it's not balanced from top to bottom. It's not even. If you were to cut off this horse's legs, then he would be perfectly balanced, but if you were to add just a little bit like this, then he would no longer be balanced. This horse is perfectly fine because he has nice long legs which match his core and his body, and it just blends in smoothly, and everything has a chiseled appearance about it, and he demonstrates perfect Arabian type and is very, very well balanced. Now Arabians are much different from stock horses, and they're much different from Morgans in a way. Morgans tend to be a little bit stockier, but have pretty much the same balance. You want them to be tabletop flat as well, and in every horse, as I said before, you want long necks and short backs. But you also want laid shoulders, and you also want a big hip, which allows the horse to be able to have correct movement, so when you put him under saddle, he will have a good gait. Typiness is defined differently in each breed. For Arabian, typiness would include a chiseled appearance about the face and a dish. You would also want smaller ears, and you would want a clean throat latch. And what I mean by this is that you don't want the throat latch to be very thick at all. You want it to be as thin as this is. Now, there are many techniques for getting it thin, which I won't go into, but sweating is one of the many, which is why if you see a horse with maybe a cloth around its neck, around this area, that's what they're doing, is they're sweating down that throat latch so it has this appearance to it. Well, I think that pretty much concludes my Arabian tutorial. The one last thing that I want to say before I go is that in the head, you want the Arabians to have short ears, as I said before, but they can be longer than stock horses and should always be tipped. You also want a broad forehead and a small muzzle, and you do not, I repeat, do not want a human eye. And what a human eye is when there's a white in the eye. So there would be white from, like, in this portion. If you look at a horse when it's scared and you can see the white in its eyes, that does not mean it's a human eye. It's just displaying fear. So that truly does conclude my Arabian tutorial on balance. Well, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and I wish everybody good luck in the show ring with their breyers or their horses.